Welcome back to Rewind the Movies, the retro podcast that looks back at... It's not a retro podcast, are we? I don't know. I was going to have a whole spiel then of an introduction, but I don't know if we are a retro podcast. I suppose we're a podcast that looks back at retro movies. Some of them aren't retro.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It would help if you knew what we were, man.
Yeah, that's probably why we don't grow, because we haven't got a clue what we do. But anyway, yeah, so the podcast that looks back at movies that we watched as kids, as teenagers, as young adults. We revisit them to see whether they're what we remember. But this week, we're in for something a little bit different. Because every week we choose our movies, or the following week's movie, by doing what we call the Wheel of Doom. And we always put a booby film in there, and something that we know may not have stood up, may not have stood the test of time, so to speak, may not be the best movie in the world. And last week's movie was The House of Dead, or House of the Dead, sorry, based on the video game, I believe. Adam, you probably know more than me because you recommended this movie.
Yep, I do. Yeah, I remember. Well, the first experience of it. I may as well just jump into it because you guys, it was your first experience watching it last night. Just rented it on Blockbuster many years ago, before there was such a thing as, well, memes weren't really a thing back then, or the internet wasn't the same as it is back now. So no one knew who Uwe or U-Ball or whatever his name was. So there was no like sort of comedic sort of like, oh, this film is so bad, it's good sort of thing attached. Just rented it blindly from Blockbuster, watched it, and I was like, at 14, was like, that was pretty bad. And then when I went to college a couple of years later, someone put it on in college one day, and me and all my mates sat in the classroom there, all laughing our heads off at it. And I distinctly remember watching it then, and just feeling like, oh man, this is. It was my first time like watching a movie with friends, enjoying the so bad it's good sort of thing. If you know what I mean, it's that sort of like experience basically. 'Cause I remember just laughing quite a lot at the bullet time and stuff, which is a lot of it and stuff, and just like the clunkiness basically.
I didn't watch it last night. I watched it 2 nights ago, and I'm going to say it now. This has got to be one of the worst films I've ever seen on this podcast. And we've seen some stinkers. So, I think one of the worst ones for me personally what was Combat Academy. I got no enjoyment out of that. And it's not far off the same for par. I couldn't even see what they were trying to do with it. So here's a question for you, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Did Resident Evil come out prior to this or after this?
1 year before.
Okay.
It came out the year before. I think that's why this film got made. Probably because, Sega saw that the Resident Evil film was a bit of a success. But the thing is with the Resident Evil film, as cheesy as it is, there's actually a competent director behind that film.
I was thinking that last night, right? By no stretch of the imagination is Resident Evil like a really good movie. I got enjoyment out of it. It's got a decent cast, so to speak. Yeah, no, it has. It's got a decent cast. And I got enough enjoyment out of it that I've seen it again, and I've seen most of the sequels. Although that franchise has got worse and worse as it gone on. But yeah, this. Yeah, I'm struggling at the moment. I'm looking at my crib sheet, so to speak, of favourite aspect and favourite scene, and it's both blank at the moment.
You're what? Sorry?
My favourite scene and my favourite aspect, I've got nothing written down. So I'm either going to have to come up with something in the next 10 minutes, or I'm not going to be able to mention anything.
You think we're going to take 10 minutes to talk about those things, yeah?
Yeah. The only positive aspect for me, I don't even know if there are.
Well, I think there's a reason that
Well, to be honest, I didn't even clock the time because I was willing from about. Oh, I don't know. I think I was willing from the moment I saw Clint Howard try to play the character that he's playing in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, another thing about this film is that it's so bad. Evan shot himself in the head halfway through the film, and that's why he's not on tonight's podcast.
We had a quite a blunt message off him, didn't we? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not on the podcast this week, boys. And that was it.
Yeah, I'm
And
not
then
on
the
this
rest
week,
were
guys.
like, come on,
No.
Ev, come on. We knew.
There was no excuse, nothing. It was just like I'm not on the. Then he said Evan left the group underneath, didn't it? So
Is it me, or does Evan seem to miss the bad films?
He only sees the bad films when he's the one who's actually recommended them.
Nominated, yeah.
This film is so bad. Here's a fact for you. The Danish cinemas refuse to show it. And we're quite popular in I was going to say Danish land there. Denmark, aren't we?
We're not going to be after you said that.
yeah,
Can't even get the country name right.
Aren't we like the number 7?
No,
Welsh
I'm
English
pretty
language?
sure I'm going back at least a year and a half, so we've probably got worse. At one point, we were something like the 4th most listened to movie podcast in Denmark on Spotify or on Apple or one of the larger ones. We were
Wow,
doing quite well.
Wow, that's what.
We were doing quite well.
Yeah, we probably not. Actually, it may even have been drilled down even more. It may have been the retro movie podcast or retro
Probably.
movie podcast produced by Welsh people. We properly niched down.
with a Polish co-host. It just gets deeper and deeper in, like, you know.
Yeah.
But it was sad that Evan hasn't come on this week. I mean, what's our excuse for him this week not being on? We usually have something for him. Did he? Is it drugs this week or?
You have to be neutered.
Yeah.
No, what I heard was that he's had to go back home up to Newcastle because they've had a national shortage of steak bakes. So he's had to go
Right.
back and help out in the factory to make sure the production gets back to a level.
All I can imagine now is Evan just driving up there in a lorry full of steak bakes, just like, don't worry, Newcastle, I'm coming, sort of thing, while he's behind the wheel.
And he's like hand drawn or painted Greg's on the side of the trailer.
Yeah. just like he's on
He's got a D instead of the G.
steak
My
bakes for all
favourite fact about, because Evan lives in Barry, right, in South Wales. Hopefully no one will stalk him and go after him.
As long as you don't give his full address. Okay?
Yeah.
If you're in Barry, if you follow the scent of steak bakes when you're in Barry, you will probably find Evan. It'll probably lead towards.
Well, that's what I was going to come to, right? Because Barry has, or he used to have, a Greg's outlet, which
Well, that's why-
was
that's why he
amazing. So
moved
back in the day, you used to be able to get like 2 steak bakes for £1.
Well, that was why he moved there, wasn't it? Because him and his wife, they lived in Newcastle at first, didn't they? Then that opened up in Barry, and they moved all the way down here. So, and that's the story of how Evan became Welsh.
I remember going in there once with him. His eyes lit up. So did mine as well. But he was amazed by it.
But this story isn't about you right now, is it?
Yeah, it's all about Evan's amazement with steak bakes.
Right now, I want Evan to be sat on the sofa, watching Newcastle United, just eating a steak bake, just enjoying life, just happy with himself, just pleased.
Drinking Nuki Brown Ale.
Drinking with an Alan Shearer painting up behind him as well, just enjoying
As
it.
Christ the Redeemer. Yeah, we miss you, Ev. Come back next week, buddy.
Yeah, we'll get a good film on Wheel of Doom this week. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, come on, Red. Someone must have something about this film that they enjoyed as an aspect.
I do have a couple of things I can go into.
Come
So,
on, Ed.
I got to be honest, maybe it's because obviously it's a bit different for me because obviously when this film came out, I was a teenager and you guys were off probably in uni when this came out in 2003 because, guessing you would have been in your 20s then.
We were last year-ish in uni,
Yeah.
depending on whether we did extra courses and whatnot.
So you have to bear in mind I watched this when I'm 14. I'm watching it last night. Although there are one or two bits that are a little bit bad in it there, but it's like I did get a lot of nostalgia watching it last night, and I did get that sort of fuzzy, warm feeling you kind of get when you watch a film you watch when you're younger. It reminded me of it just took me back to renting it from Blockbusters. It took me back to when I was watching it in the college with my friends and stuff, and also just the 2000s, the early 2000s. I do have a soft spot for that era of films, regardless of the film's quality sometimes as well. So that's one of my favorite aspects. But that's such a selfish, only I could relate to favorite aspect. We're in a bit of trouble already with this one.
Well, what you just said has nothing to do with the quality of the film.
I know.
He's scraping the barrel. No, that fuzzy, warm feeling you just mentioned. Was it anything to do with the amount of boobage in the film?
No, he pissed himself.
No, I don't know. I used to play the game of this quite a lot as well, which is why I rented it. To be honest, I never owned a House of the Dead game because Did you ever play the games in the arcade?
I played it in the arcade, never at home.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was on PlayStation, was it?
I never. I think it was a Dreamcast game.
Oh, Sega, of course, yeah.
I never had a Dreamcast, but it was also on. It did come out on the Wii, but I didn't really play that one either. I think it's House of the Dead Overload, Overload or something it's called. But anyway, me and my brother used to go and play this. It was like Time Crisis, wasn't it, in the arcade? So me and my brother used to play this every time we went to the arcade. Great arcade game, great on the rail shooter, and I think that's probably why I would have rented it when I was 14, because 14-year-old me was obsessed with horror movies. I still am now, but I was really really getting into horror movies at that point, and I would literally watch anything. Zombies was a big thing of mine back then. Like I love the George A. Romero movies and stuff, and Peter Jackson's Brain Dead and all that sort of thing. So that's why I would have rented this back then. And I can remember at 14 just being like, what the heck is this? Quite quickly into it, if you know what I mean. It was one of those ones.
I always remember the font that was used for the logo, and I'm just looking now at the arcade version, and the type of gun that was used. But going back, I think early 2000s or late 90s, they had some good arcades, games with guns, especially Time Crisis, where you hit the pedal, didn't you? And it came from like behind a wall or whatever. I used to love that game.
A friend of mine, my friend Ridley, shout out if you're listening, used to have Time Crisis on the PS1 with one of the guns. So we used to play that at his house as well. He was the only person I knew that had the gun at home.
So when you had the gun at home, they had a little button on the side, didn't it? And the button made you sort of like step out. Is that right?
I don't really remember. It's just we're going back to like when I would have been in like year 7 or year 8 when I would have played that. But that would have been year 7 because it would have been like that was before the PS2 came out, and when the PS2 came out, Time Crisis went straight in the bin because it would have been all about Soul Calibur 2 and Time Splitters 2 and Halo when the Xbox came out a bit later. Then it was all about those games back then. But going back to the arcade though, what was your favourite? Do you guys have a favourite arcade game back in the day? I reckon I know what Progs was. I can imagine. I think I have a feeling what Progs might have been.
Go on.
I can imagine Prog really like an NBA Jam. I don't know why, but I
did like that game, but that was on the SNES, so I didn't have to play.
There was one particular football game we played in uni, Prog, which was quite good. It was like World Cup football or something.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for an arcade. I haven't gone to one for years, but you mentioned already like Time Crisis, Crazy Taxi. I used to love as well. But if you go back like things like Afterburner, you should love that.
We'll come back to Afterburner now, but just quickly, the World Cup game, was that World Cup 91 you used to play on the Sega Mega Drive? You know what I mean?
There's no World Cup in 1991, but it was 1990.
No, I know, but there was a game called like something 91 or something for like the Sega. Let me find out what this game was called. Maybe World Cup game, Sega Mega Drive. I swear to God it had 91 in the title.
It wouldn't have.
It would have had 90, Italia 90, maybe.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah,
it wasn't Italia
yeah,
90.
I think it was, yeah, Italia 90. Sorry, World Cup Italia 90. I'm looking at it now. Now, I had that game. I had that game for the Sega. I can't remember. Was it a different one? Yeah, it would have been that one. Yeah, it was on a cartridge. There's two other games. Did you have that? It had like the Shinobi Ninja game on there.
I know exactly the
and
disc you're on
columns.
about, the cartridge you're on about. Yeah,
And
I'll
the
find
columns
it
is
now.
on there. Now,
Our columns, yeah.
but like, I'm gonna find out what that game is. Actually,
I think they call it's Mega Games, and I
Mega.
think they went 1 to 6.
I'm gonna find it out. Mega Drive. I gotta find this. It's gonna kill me otherwise. Quick research. Oh, I found it. Mega Games 1. I found it. It's on. Yeah, it is World Cup Italia 90. I would have played, but there was me and my brother used to play that, and we used to have murder over it, right? Because I would do this really crafty thing to him, and he'd always fall for it. I would like let him get goals through on purpose, so I'd let him get to a really tasty like 7-0. But if you were player one on that game, you could press start and change the teams around, and I would just change it. I would just change it around, so I would then have 7 points. And Josh would be like, Adam, no! And I'd be like, I'm fucking smashing you by here, boy. And he'd be like, Mom, he's cheating again. I just remember doing that all the time to him. I always remember doing that to him on that game. It's been an absolute bell end, like. But yeah, good times, great game. I wonder how World Cup Italia holds up now compared to FIFA.
Not good.
Right, it was inevitable that we were going to talk about video games. But did you enjoy the video game of this when you played it? I think you mentioned just now. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. I mean, like, obviously, it's an on-the-rail shooter, right? So, like, that genre has its fans, don't get me wrong, and power to you. But they're not really the kind of games I would like to play at home. They're arcade games, you know what I mean? You play them in the arcade. You need the theater of it. You need the gun. You need the big cabinet and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. It was great fun. House of the Dead was in the arcade. So really quite expensive to play. I remember. I think it was a bit more dear than the other games there. But it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite. I just remember what the best shooter game was. It was Lethal Enforcers, which was also a Sega game.
That's another good one. I enjoyed that.
That was a good. It was you were in a car chase. That was a great arcade game. That was. Sega makes. I don't think people give Sega enough credit for how good they are. They were or still are actually at making arcade games. They are absolutely like the king of doing it. Like, you know what I mean. But hey ho.
And have you got any more favourite aspects of this movie?
The captain guy.
What was his name?
Jürgen Prochnow. He's
That's
actually he's the only thing I've got as being decent in this film.
Victor Kirk he played.
Yeah.
I got to say as well, like, all right, another favorite aspect. Now, as you know, me and Prog are writers. We write a little TV show on BBC One and stuff like that, and out on the Vale. So you learn to enjoy good script writing when you see it. And what I really liked about this film was the structure of it. Like when it starts off, you get the narration, and it really tells you quickly what's going on with the characters and the motivations. And it wasn't lazy. It was a really good bit of script writing now. So I'm going to start doing that in my scripts now. It's just as soon as an episode of something starts up, you see someone else and you go, "That's so and so. This is how I feel about them. That's so and so."
I'll tell you the best thing about that narration is that it was present in the first 2 minutes of the film and the very last 30 seconds of the film, and you didn't hear it anywhere else.
It was the voice, wasn't it? It was that voice. I forgot what the character's names are, but that's John. John's a good friend of mine. Yeah. He's a great guy.
I wasn't meant to be here.
Yeah, it was just another day. But then the captain, who had a boat and sailed that boat, might have sailed them to the island where the where the zombies might be. And it's great. It's absolutely amazing writing. It's fantastic dialogue, fantastic narration writing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not bad at all.
It's not bad. It's effing terrible. That's what it is. The movie starts with that narration, right? But know the way that the music is on in the background.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pin down exactly the type of music it was, right?
Thick music.
But it just reminded me of one thing. Do you remember the infomercial, whatever they're called, that used to be on DVDs about you wouldn't steal a car and you wouldn't steal a bag I thought I was watching one of them to begin with. The way that the music was in your face, and it's just like, come on. And at one point, I thought, is that Prodigy that they're playing? I was like, is this?
No.
Yeah, and it wasn't. But like at one point, there was like a real rip-off of one of their songs, and then they went in somewhere totally different. It's yeah, I didn't like it at all. And if we're talking about it being lazy, the one bit that was so lazy for me was the incorporation of the video game bits.
I had a theory on that one there. I think that I had this weird. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that was Sega's sort of note. I have this weird feeling about like the film. I'm gonna look at the games a second and see if like when the games were released there. But I have this weird like feeling about like, yeah, because there was like some way of like advertising the game a little bit. So I was a bit like, as Sega watches me, like, can we put some game footage in this so people will watch the movie and think I want to play the game and buy the game? So like as a weird way of cross.
Do you think
I'm not saying it's good.
do you think anyone watched that film and thought, "Oh, I need to go and buy the game now"?
I wouldn't. No, but I'm just trying to figure out why they did that because it was so weird.
Can I give you a little fact or tidbit on that? 32 video clips from the original game appear in several parts of the movie. 26 appear during the 10-minute battle in front of the house. We'll come on to that in a minute. The remaining 6 are used as transitions prior to the battle. I saw the first one and I was like, oh, okay. And I sort of knew they were coming because I think I had read something about it prior to this. And then it just got on my tits after a while. And that battle outside of the house, it just goes on forever. Where did they get all those bullets from? Oh, my word.
Well, I'm going to wait till...
that many dead bodies on that island.
I can't wait to get changes on this film. Yeah, that's another thing as well. But like, the action scene, it was quite funny though. Like the bit, me and Prog did laugh quite a lot when she did that backflip and did that backflip to dodge the axe and then shot that zombie. Do you remember that bit? Like,
yeah,
she did that forward flip
but the camera angle was all wrong because it looked like it was going to hit her. And then she landed and it just sort of goes over her head. But it doesn't zoom in for you seeing it just missing her. It's like 20 foot away and you think, oh, is it hitting her? Is it not? Oh, it's gone over her. And there was no like suspense to it.
I can't wait to talk about the survivors. The survivors of this film. The 2 survivors. Remember, like, you know...
Well, the girl who gets stabbed right through the chest, but she's still alive at the end of the film?
Well, it made sense to me.
I got no problem with her surviving. But she got physically speared through the chest.
It was the fact that, like, when... I just love that when she was on the... We'll wait till changes. Come on.
Well, has anyone got a favourite scene then? What, you know, is there anything in this film that they really enjoyed?
No, Ad. You would have come to you by now, so no.
Right? If I was 14 years old, like Adam, watching this, I would have loved the beach scene at the beginning. I may as well put it out there now. But like...
Andrew, you still love the beach scene.
Oh yeah, I still do. Well, hey, I'm trying not to sound like a pervert, yeah? But that woman, didn't she go on to play Lois Lane?
Maybe.
What?
Let me have a look. I'm going to look this up now.
In what series?
She went on to play Lois Lane. Her name is Erica Durant, I think, in Smallville.
No.
I think it's her. Here we go. I've got... Yeah, so she went on to play Lois Lane within a year of her doing that movie, I think.
Oh my God. I love that woman in Smallville. I'm going to have to watch the film again.
Here we are. See, it is a good film. People see you both are starting to come round in it now. You're starting to enjoy it a bit. Maybe we're too dense to understand House of the Dead. Maybe like, you know, maybe he's a bit ahead of his time. Maybe in about 10 years, people will come to appreciate if what it actually was.
Oh, shut up, lad.
Didn't they do a sequel to this?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be my choice for tonight to put forward for Wheel of Doom.
But the whole film has a straight to TV or a TV movie feel about it. A movie specifically produced by Sci-Fi or Horror Channel or something. Do you get that? Do you get what I mean? And did you get that feeling about it?
Do you know what it feels like to me? Do you know when you watch a comedy film and they have like footage of a fake film? It felt like that. Do you know, like if you're watching like an episode of Friends and like Joey is acting in a crap horror film, and on Friends they have footage of the crap horror film he's acting in. That's what this felt like for 87 minutes. It felt like one of those crap joke films you get in a quick comedy film or movie, just to kind of show.
So the three of us last night were Chandler and Ross having to sit down with Joey and watch his film.
Yeah, like it was like, yeah, I'm only saying that because Joey came to mind straight away, but like, yeah, that's what I was thinking, like watching it, going, this is like one of those crap fake movies you get in a comedy.
Or when you said about that, then all I could think about was what's it called? Angels with angels with filthier souls or filthy souls.
Dirty Souls, is it?
Dirty Souls.
But the one from Home Alone, whatever it is. And I always think about that one because I was obviously produced for the movie, but I always thought for years that was an actual movie, and I was like, oh, I always wanted to try and get that.
Yeah, but the difference is that movie actually looked decent.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'd rather watch an hour and a half of that movie than this ever again, easily.
I'm sorry, Johnny.
But anyway, if we're going to talk about favourite aspect, for a young teenager or any people who like naked bodies, there we go. Beach scene. Got to put something out there.
Well, let's just say that for both men and women, there are some attractive people in the film.
The men aren't getting their bits out, are they? Like the birds are in this one. They are.
No, thank God.
The film knows its own. I think the one thing the film does is it knows its audience. 14-year-old boys.
And Andrew.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It just needed to be set like 15 years earlier, and I would have probably liked the film. Bit of jazz in the background instead of rave. Do you know, if we're talking about the cast as well, and if we're talking about like attractive people, I did think that the main lady was she was attractive. I'll say that now, but also I thought she got a little bit better as the movie went on. If we're gonna, I'm talking about an aspect of something. We're scraping the barrel anyway. But the two guys, were they brothers? Those two got on my nerves massively.
I know,
You could say to me, right? You could, when that film finished, right? When that film was over, you could have said to me, "Here's $4,000. Name one character from that film." I would have been like, I don't know, Zombie Man,
Captain Jack Sparrow.
I would have said Clint Howard because he was the only actor I knew.
No, I mean,
but that's not even a character name, is it? It's just Clint Howard.
Seriously, I had no idea. Like the film, like I didn't know who the main character was supposed to be. The main character didn't show up until like 40 minutes into the film. So you're like, what? Like it's just, you know. But again, that's what I'm saying about this film.
Because it does that weird thing, doesn't it? Sorry, Ad. It does that weird thing that he narrates it, and then the movie kicks in like a third. It catches up with the narration, and then I was just like, okay, he's the narrator, so is he the main character? Yeah. You're trying to like work out because you've got the two brothers at the beginning, you've got the three girls that he's with, and the one girl gets murdered quite early on. What's her name? Cynthia.
I think another thing this film smacked off as well, right? So to be a feature film, to legally pass as a feature film, right? Your film has to be, I think it's 74 minutes. It has to be over 74 minutes for it to. I don't know why it's such a weird number, but if it's 74 minutes, it's officially a feature movie. It might be 71, but it's definitely in the 70 bracket, right? And I had this vibe watching it that, like, the stuff with the video game footage, the stuff with the narration, that bit in the middle of the film when it just rewinds the entire film for no reason with the music blaring. Do you remember that bit when it just starts rewinding all of the events that's happened, and it goes on for ages.
It's the worst bit of the film.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, are they doing this to make sure it's over? It's just under 90 minutes, so they can legally sell this as a feature film. Because I have this feeling that they filmed it all and like they edited it, like, right, this is only like 10 minutes long. We need to pad it out. That's what I thought like happened with it. It just felt like that sort of, and that happens all the time. Like that happens more often than you think with like low budget films. They just need something to like pad them out quickly. I know people who've made films and they've had to pad them out, and I'm talking things that like making certain moments like slow motion for the just to beef it up and stuff. So I have a feeling that was another thing going on with it as well. I don't think there was anything on that cutting room floor.
Do you know the main like bad guy in it? You don't see him till quite late on.
The Doctor.
You know, no, well, yeah, he might be a doctor, but the guy who's from like ancient, well, not ancient, but like from about 200 or 300 years ago, David Palfrey, I think his name might be.
Yeah.
Do you mean
I just found out he was actually married to that Erica Durance, the girl who played Lois Lane and got her boobies out.
He is still married to her, isn't he?
No, I think they've split up.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she started watching Rewire.
But I thought that he was like 30 years older than her. I did think at times, this isn't a positive nor a negative, just something I thought of, that it had like mummy vibes about it. You know, because you've got this character who, maybe not mummy, but he's got this character who seems to be living forever and seems to be patched up with various other people, and that aspect of it I thought could have worked quite well, but they just executed it really, really bad.
It reminded me a lot of Jurassic Park, this film did. I had massive Jurassic Park vibes from this film. Like, it really reminded me of Jurassic Park. Like,
You said Jaws about 50 times last night, and now you're saying Jurassic Park.
No. The bit that was like Jaws was the bit where the bird you both love was in the water, because it had a bit of like, it was trying to do that John Hughes sort of thing, but when it got to the little island, not John Hughes, John Williams music, I meant to say, not John Hughes, and it had that. Trust me, the music was trying to like, you know, give those vibes, you know. And then it just when we got to Wasma Chops, the House of the Dead Island, it just felt a lot like Jurassic Park. It just had that same sort of vibe to it, you know what I mean? And also the bit where Clint Howard's in that yellow raincoat and stuff, it was a bit like
Dennis Nedry.
Yeah, just reminded me of Jurassic Park.
I tell you one positive thing about this film, something I'd never seen before: a zombie swimming. Name another film where you've seen a zombie swimming.
Zombie.
No, I haven't seen it. There's me shot down.
And you know why that is infinitely better? Because our zombie fights a shark.
That's right, yeah. Zombie flesh eaters. Yeah, it's great. It's a great scene. No, that's what that scene was ripping off. There was loads of bits in this. There was loads of bits in the like. Now Prog had a go at me when I said this, right? But I don't care. I will die on this hill forever. But there's a shot for shot bit like Lord of the Rings in this as well. Is the bit where the first guy that dies. You know, the main baddie who's married to that bird you like, who he wears a mask version of his face. Remember?
Yeah.
Remember that bit with the mask?
Yeah.
We'll get into that later because that bit was amazing. But there's a bit when he's running away and like he hides down by this bank and you see like the zombie looking around for him, and it's like that bit from Lord of the Rings. It's like that's clearly like Uwe Boll was ripping that off and stuff and doing a shot for shot homage. I don't, you know, it's...
you have referenced so far when talking about this film Jurassic Park, Jaws, and Lord of the Rings.
But that's why Uwe Boll's doing. He's copying them. He's like trying to make. He's obviously obsessed with those films, and he's just. But I'm telling you right now, that bit with Lord of the Rings, right? I don't care. I'll try and find it right now. But that is what that bit was ripping off. It came out like a year ago.
I genuinely don't care, and I don't think anyone watching or listening to this cares either. Can we just like get on with it?
No, bro. We gotta jump into this film and like dissect it. This is look. Every film gets the same treatment and care on Rewind the Movies, even if it is the booby film. And don't slack.
I applaud your effort in trying to drag out this podcast and trying to find some sort of interesting angle for this film. But
there are plenty of interesting angles with this film. I think you're just being too negative on it, Prog. Look at you. Look at that face.
Come on, let's talk about some of the major issues that people have with the movie. We've mentioned a few already, but what else haven't we discussed?
Can I mention one thing right now? You know the boyfriend who was caught in the shitter?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets out, he keeps the shirt on, which is covered in shit. He doesn't take the shirt off. Number 2, when his missus gets her brains blown out, he has almost no reaction whatsoever to it. So
Yeah,
what is going on? Like,
She's a terrible character as well.
Yeah. But I'm telling you right now, right, that guy, right, like, first off, it's awful, right? Probably not the actor's fault. He didn't have much to work with, right? I'd be trying to be kind here. But the bit at the end when he wears a mask of him and takes it off, I think is one of the best things I've ever seen in a movie ever, for how stupid it was. It was just so weird, that bit was. I couldn't believe what I was watching when that happened. Because it just felt like the film was just making things up as it just went along at that point.
why did that doctor not only just put that dead face on, but why did he want to capture the boy and girl? Why didn't he just have his zombies eat them and then he could have reused and repurposed the body and flesh when he wanted? I don't get it. I did. And then again, I reckon you could rewatch this film and pause it after every minute and ask a question.
Can I ask another question around that? Why is it, right? But when the guy and the girl are about to get killed by the zombies in that scene, why does he kill every zombie to save them, to then try and kill them again? Why does he do that? That's exactly what he does.
I know, that's what I was saying. That's what I was getting to.
Why does the girl shoot the fish tank?
That bit. She shoots the fish tank, and then everyone just comes alive. They all wake up.
Yeah, because you have that bit.
Thought about the fish tank.
Yeah, literally, she just shoots a fish tank with a mutant zombie fish in it.
God.
And then there's a bit of ADR going, oh my god, no, the water brings him back to life. And then the zombies start coming back to life. What about the zombie whose nose you can see?
Oh, but, yeah. I got Adam to rewind it because there's a zombie on the table and you can actually see a human nose through the zombie face mask.
I missed that bit.
What about the boy who has his face, his cheek ripped off, and now he thinks he's ugly as sin, but the black girl still goes with him?
Even though his own girlfriend died only 10 minutes ago.
No, he didn't have a girlfriend.
He did, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
It
was his brother's girlfriend.
The brother who was in the toilet, he was with the blonde girl.
Yeah.
And then the other girl, the black girl liked him, but he liked the one who gets stabbed in the chest.
Yeah.
Okay, the stabbing. Let's talk about the stabbing in the chest bit, right? Like, because that's the bit that's the bit that was like Prog was going insane at the TV for. He's like, what the?
Well, I don't
understand a bit, but I'd lost my head about an hour before that.
She gets stabbed in the chest, right, and then through the heart, because she gets stabbed there, and it goes through her. That sword does the guy, right? It's not a graze; it's a stab. She manages to stand up and crush that guy's head because his head is controlling his decapitated body and making his headless body strangle that guy. 2 people wrote this screenplay. 2 people.
Can I just say something as well? Do you know the headless body?
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that if you cut someone's head off, they become 10 times as strong? Because they were having an even fight before then, but as soon as the guy gets his head lopped off, He's got, like, superhuman strength.
Can we also talk about how all of a sudden she's like a martial arts expert
They all, well, apparently they all are.
and is like, I don't know, seems to be Zorro at one point when she's having that sword fight with Castillo or whatever his name is.
What about that girl who was in the American flag?
Liberty.
Yeah, who turned into bloody Bruce Lee.
Oh. So I've just read on Wikipedia about what the end bit. And I must have missed this because I think I switched off during the narration at the end.
Just knocked the film off.
So she dies, Alicia, whatever her name is, at the end. So she does get stabbed and she dies, right?
She doesn't.
But,
She walks away.
well, no, okay, let me read it, right? Alicia, who's barely alive, gets up and crushes the head under her foot, which finally kills him. Although Alicia seemingly dies, she and Rudy are rescued by a team of agents. The ending narration reveals that Rudy gave Alicia the immortality serum. The two survivors return home. So this film is seen as a prequel to the movie game.
So she's the cause
video game.
of the virus after, is it?
I
That
don't know.
starts the game?
Yeah, not sure.
She's walking away at the end. She's like, she's not really. Well, if she's immortal, would she'd be okay then? If she got stabbed in the arse, she'd be like, I'm
Wait,
fine.
hang on a
no
minute.
problem.
Oh, hang on a minute now, right? Hang on a minute. So she dies on the island, but we don't see him give her the serum. But he has given her the serum because he says that in the narration.
Yeah.
Surely, her dying and him anguishing over whether to give her the serum or not would be one of the most important moments in the film. Why not film that?
I give her just after that, I gave her the serum, the immortality serum that saved her life. And also, obviously, there's an open ending to the sequel now when they fly in and you see the shot of the city. You see a shot of the city, so obviously the next one would be taking place in like New York or something.
But who called in those agents? Or did the lady on the boat call them in? No, the whatever officer she was.
Why do they want to go to the island again in the first place? They just randomly. They're on this party island.
There's a rave there.
No, it's not. Like they're in a rave though. They're at a rave.
But the rave is at on the island.
Yeah.
That's why they are going there.
Why is the rave on the island?
I'm assuming
Why
it
would
was
you have a
illegal.
I'm going to use one of your phrases, but because film.
It's they're having a big Sega rave. Like that. Yeah, that's the thing with this film. It's so confusing because it's not like it's an abstract film. It's just so badly made. I couldn't remember whether they were at the rave before or after the thing. And why is this guy picking up Cuban cigars from the island? Because that's the whole reason why he wants to go there, is to get Cuban cigars. I mean, who's making those Cuban cigars on that island? It's not
Well,
Cuba.
more importantly, where is this island? Because is it like, I'm assuming it's not just off the coast of like Florida or somewhere, so they're nipping down to Cuba and then coming back up. I assumed it was probably higher up.
You're not
within
going to
America.
believe where this island is. Off the coast of Seattle.
Is that what it says in like Wikipedia or something?
Yeah.
That's the biggest twist of the movie.
Isle del Morte. Island of Death.
Oh, this movie.
Wow.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Fair play.
Right, I'm going to reel through some of the other issues I have. Why did Liberty go in the water to save Simon with just a knife in her mouth? I don't want an answer for that. That's just something that really pissed me off. The bad sort of like Matrix style slow-mos and the use of the 360 camera. Interesting fact, this is one of the last movies ever to use that style or that piece of
That
equipment.
style died a death with this film.
Well, it injured so many actors, that equipment, so I think they use something slightly different now. There just seemed to be unlimited ammo and different guns just appeared from it. There was a case, she was like, oh yeah, here's a shotgun for you, here's a handgun for you. Next minute, they've got bloody assault rifles, More handguns.
Can I just say, I've never seen a 10-minute action sequence where I've been so bored.
Yeah. No, I have. I have been bored during action scenes before, but But what I'm saying is that's the killer. That is the ultimate fail of a movie. And when you're watching that, like I remember watching like, I think it was like Doctor Strange or like Black Panther in the cinema, and I was just watching this like gigantic car chase, and I was just like falling asleep in the cinema, and I was like, I'm watching right now, like all this shit. It's like I'm watching like all of this stuff happening, like millions of dollars worth of CGI, and I'm on the cusp of falling asleep. It's like the ultimate fail of a movie when that is nothing worse than that happening. But
there was also, this is the final point from me, and I'm probably shutting up about this movie then. The chase sequences. No, they had like a camera like in their face while they were running, and they were gurning like no one's business. And I was just like, it's just another like dagger in my back watching this movie.
Yeah,
Adam loved those shots.
I hated them.
They were great. What would you give this film out of 10, guys?
I told you what I'd give it.
Go on, for obviously for the listeners.
Oh, do I have to?
I don't think I'd even give it 1. I'd give it half a point.
Half a point.
That's worse than me. I said I'd give it 1. Wait until you hear what Adam gave it, and wait until you hear this boot. No.
Is it a 6 by any chance?
No, I give this movie 4 out of 10.
Where's the 4 come from?
Whoa. He gave E.T. 3, didn't he?
No, in fairness, he bumped E.T. up to a 4 after he saw Mac and
Oh, that's all right then. This, as long as it's on the same level as E.T., that's fine.
Yeah, I know.
I give it a 4 out of 10 because I did, while watching I did laugh quite a lot. And like, also posy vibes and stuff in this. So like,
You're not supposed to laugh.
You laughed because of me.
He didn't watch a movie, he just looked at you for the entire 90 minutes.
I don't know why, but it had a strange, like, it had a strange charm. It had a strange charm to it. Oh. Like it did have, it had like this little thing. Now 4 is still a bad score. It's like you don't know.
Not for you, it's not.
Yeah, not when you give majority of your films 6.
I don't give majority from 6 actually. Like, 6
you have got better. I will say I haven't seen a 6 in a while. But we went through a stint where like most films were
when
6.
Andrew and Evan were first introduced to your scoring metric, it was always a 6 to begin with.
No, I tell you what, I'm gonna pedal back. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 10. It deserves, 3 is what it actually deserves. 3 out of 10. That's fair enough. 3 out of 10.
What's that on a par with? What do you give Mac and me?
1. Straight up 1 out of 10.
This is worse than Mac and me.
Absolutely, yeah. Let me go. I'll go for my scores actually. I always do this.
I don't know about that.
I'd rather watch Mac and me than this.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, but no way. I'd watch this twice in a row.
While you're looking at that, I'm going to give a final fact before we wrap up, right? So the budget was 12 million.
Where's that money gone, man? Where's that money gone?
Paying Sega for the use of those 36 clips or whatever it is. And the box office was 14 million. So
the last film I give, 3 out of 10. I'm just going to give you my worst reviews, right? Now, I don't give many films a 0, but I did give Doctor Sleep a 0 out of 10. The sequel to The Shining. That's a 0. It's one of the only films I've ever given a 0 to.
Don't worry about those films, but just tell us what House of the Dead is on a par with.
3 out of 10s, right?
Yeah.
I haven't given a 3 out of 10 in a while.
There's a couple there, I know.
John McFall got a 3 out of 10.
I don't see that.
It's boring. I'd rather watch this than John McFall.
Oh my God.
Greenland got 3 out of 10. What else got 3 out of 10? I'm just going through a big list here. Haunt. No, you guys haven't seen that. It's like a crap horror film I watched one night. Let's go to last year when I would have watched E.T.
How you can give John Wick 4 3 and this a 3, I'll never know.
Yeah, but John Wick 4 is boring though, isn't it? Like, and I love John Wick 2, and like I think number one's good, but I don't care what anyone says. Like, John Wick 4 is bad. It's a bad
John
movie.
Wick, I don't mind you saying John Wick 4 is boring, that's fine. But a boring film doesn't equate to a 3 out of 10.
It's not doing his job properly, if it's boring. My next 3 out of 10 film is Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie version. Yeah, you agree with that one, don't you? You straight up agree. You agree. You're only going to argue that. I also give 3 out of 10 to the Rob Zombie Halloween remake. I didn't like that one that much. E.T. has got a 3 out of 10.
No, you bumped that out. You told me you bumped that out.
You need to amend that. In brackets.
2023 revisit. I said that. No, I haven't got any more 3 out of 10s I can find on you. Really. None worth mentioning.
Come on.
Oh, wow. Ghostbusters 2 got 2 out of 10.
Oh,
Beats Ghostbusters
Get off the
2.
podcast now.
This defeats Ghostbusters 2.
I'm like massively.
Actually,
offended.
I'm wrong. Ghostbusters 2 got 1 out of 10. That's why I give Ghostbusters 2 1. This reigns supreme, 2 points above Ghostbusters 2.
Forgetting your scores now, right? Which one would you rather we rewatch? House of the Dead or Ghostbusters 2?
House of the Dead. I hate
No, you
Ghostbusters.
wouldn't, man. You're a liar. There's no way.
Andrew's.
I'm fuming. You're lucky I've got these headphones on. Otherwise, you see the steam coming out my ears.
The first time you've ever sworn on this podcast, that was as well, Andy. I actually broke you then, but.
Right, come on. Final question we always ask: would you recommend Prog?
No.
Ad?
Yes, if you were having a sort of like if you were got some friends around and you fancied watching something that you could all have a good laugh at, I would recommend House of the Dead.
Well, so you'd recommend this as a 3 out of 10 film?
Yeah, because if you were like with some mates and stuff, and you were like after like a film you could have a good laugh at, I would recommend House of the Dead.
Put Hot Shot on or Naked Gun if you want to laugh.
Yeah, why don't you put on a proper comedy, right, if you want to laugh?
No, when you just laughed at intentionally.
So this is isolated to like you have to be with like certain group of people and like you're all having a bit of a laugh. You're like, oh, let's watch something so bad is good. Like, like when Dodge pops around sometimes on a Saturday and we watch
I'm gonna break this for you now, but you're the only one that thinks like that.
No, that 14 million it returned. Adam's like 12 million of it.
I'm the only. By the way, this film has 3% on Rotten Tomatoes as well. That's probably one of. I think you said last time, Prog. This might be the lowest reviewed film we've ever done on this podcast.
It might be, yeah.
It might be. Right, so I wouldn't recommend. I just think if you want a film based on a video game, that's horror-ish. Go and watch Resident Evil. Not the greatest film in the world either.
Go and watch anything else.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if you want something within this genre, Resident Evil. There you go.
I just found the only good review. And it's
is it by A. Llewellyn in 2003?
It's by a guy called Spence D. He's from IGN Movies. Christ alive. He gave it a 3 out of 5. This guy did. He gave it 3 out of 5, which is like that's like a 6 out of 10, right? And he said very quickly, while not as technically brilliant as some zombie movie fare, Hot D more than makes up for the House of the Dead. More than makes up for this lack in terms of sheer heart. Sure, it's a low-budget venture, but it doesn't feel forced or contrived, but rather revels in its low-budget restraints.
I'd rather watch Hot D than this film again.
Hot D. I was wondering.
I meant to say House of the Dead. I meant to say House of the Dead, not Hot, because he's written H lowercase OT and then D in capital, so I just read that quick then. But yeah, Spence D.
Come on, let's stop talking about this film.
Adam is trying to make this podcast go as long as possible.
I'm gonna edit it down to like 5 minutes.
Okay, so it's Wheel of Doom time right now. So the part of this podcast where we select next week's film. Obviously, we just did a booby film tonight, which was House of the Dead. So another booby film goes into the goes into the wheel, and it's Battlefield Earth. John Travolta. The John Travolta sci-fi epic Battlefield Earth, as chosen by Prog.
No, whoa,
So-
whoa, 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 whoa. Not chosen
You
by
chose it.
Prog. I suggested the film, and we did a Wheel of Doom to see what booby film would go into the Wheel of Doom.
Wheel of Doom.
We all suggested.
Yeah, we did an unfilmed Wheel of Doom because we had a couple of I'll tell you some of the other films we had in there. We also had Ski Patrol, Garbage Pail Kids the movie, Ewoks Battle for Endor, United Passions, No Holds Barred, and Boxing Helena, and Battlefield Earth as well. And that's what came out. It wasn't a fun. Everyone's a lose on there, isn't it? There's no joy to be had in that at all, really.
Well, that's why it's
Anyway,
a booby film.
What else have we got? We got Frailty as well as our viewer choice.
Yeah, that was from Brian.
Okay, so basically we all choose 2 films each. I'm just going to pull it up, and then whatever comes out we do next week. Blah 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 blah. Andrew, you're first. You go first, but
Fifth Element. Luc Besson.
yep,
And The Usual Suspects.
The Usual Suspects.
Now he's been cleared, is he, but?
Yeah, we can talk about him again.
As soon as that breaking news alert came on BBC, you were like that. Usual Suspects. I'm going to start recommending now.
Updating my list straight away.
Yeah. Prog.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
One day Prague is going to come out.
It might.
I reckon.
And do you know what? I've been thinking about this film a lot lately. I'm going to go for Braveheart.
Wow. Your camera's gone off, by the way, Prog. You've vanished.
Well, I'm still here, but
Okay. I'm going to go for, because me and Prog were like, we were watching some trailers the other night. I'm going to go for 2 Italian horror movies. I'm going to go for Suspiria, and I'm going to go for The Beyond by Lucio. So we got Dario Argento's Suspiria and Lucio Fulci's The Beyond in the list as well. We're ready to spin and win.
Spin and win.
Some good choices in here this week, aside from Robin Hood.
it's going Fifth Element.
It's
Fifth
done that
Element.
the last few weeks, haven't it? It's doing that thing where it's slowing down and it just creeps onto the next one. So, Fifth Element next week, guys.
Yeah, Luc Besson's Fifth Element is next week's movie. So podcasts come out every Wednesday, Thursday. Check out our social media. Recommend a movie if you want us to do one in the future. And yeah, just get in contact. Have a chat with us on social media. Cheers all.